this long chain of muscles kind of handing off to each other and helping us draw length through our core. And we'll bring the attention back in the hips and just tapping or touching lightly, just to help the abdominal wall engage, to be part of the process. And then take the attention into the low belly, just above the pubic bone, making contact there. And imagine going all the way through to the tailbone sinking. And then let's work with our breath. When we need to inhale, just running the fingers up the center line. And so the elbows up higher than the shoulders, we fill with air, we hold our breath as we widen. And then the out breath. Now our own tempo, taking the time to really fill the lungs. And we'll give ourselves one more. And once we finish that breath, again, just find the back body, the lift at the skull, the sinking at the tailbone, and then lifting the heels, then the toes. And we'll get a handful. And when the heels get down, they'll just get to stay there. The toes stay up. And then see if just the big toes will go down. And then switching the little toes. And when the big toes go down, just pause there for a moment and see if you can really bring the little toes up. So there's really work in those little muscles through the front of the foot. And then lift them all up and then put the little toes down. So you can feel the pads of the little toes make contact. And the big toes really trying to lift off the mat. And let's switch one more time. And then switching again. And then lift all the toes and relax all the toes back down. And then just dig them into the mat. And as we work with the feet, at the same time, feel what the back body's doing and keeping that elongation in our back body, putting the toes to work, the foot to work here. And then just releasing, coming neutral. And then pour the weight into the inner line. So the outer edge of the foot is just off the mat. I'm reversing, going to the outer edge, the inner edge lifting. And we're just kind of rolling side to side here. And then smooth it out. Come into the center of the foot, even weight. And when we're ready, we're going to let our knees bend. They'll come in contact, hands by the knees. And we're just letting an easy circle from the knees, move the hips, rotate the ankles. At some point, we're going to want to change our direction. And switching direction again. And bring the attention into the low back and the feeling of the tailbone dropping. And you may feel a kind of an opening, gentle stretching at the low back as you internally sink the tailbone. Okay, when it feels like you've got about the same amount in each direction, just coming into the center. And just put the hands a little above the knees, press in the palms, and then round the back. Tailbone tucks, chin tucks. Move the collarbones toward the pubic bone. And with the exhale, just kind of round down. And for the inhale, we'll come very tall. So start by lifting the arms, the hands get in front of the face, push the elbows and the shoulders up, and just keep pulling up as high as you can go, moving the hips forward. And then let's just look straight ahead. And when we're ready to breathe out, we'll just bring our arms down. Okay, we'll move our feet a bit wider apart, kind of hips width here. Going to sink the knees again, hands on the hips, and the hips get to circle. And every few times, switching direction. When it feels like it's the same number in both directions, just slow down into the center and draw that flat figure 8 through the hips. Switching our direction at some point. Setting any speed we like. This can be done slowly as well as quickly. Keeping a bend in the knee. When it feels like we've done an equal amount in both directions, we're just going to work our way back into the center. So the feet are roughly under the hip sockets. And from there, we're just going to run the hands down the legs again, just above the knees. Find a stopping point. We're going to round the back over and work with the belly. So we breathe a long exhale that moves the belly into the low back, and we round the low back. Work with the arms by bending the elbows a bit, drawing the shoulder blades apart, and bring the spine up between the shoulder blades. So there's a gentle stretch along the curve of the back. Tuck the chin and press up through the neck. So lots of energy working in the body here. Gentle work, but everything's doing something. We're going to come tall. When we need to breathe in, we're going to get the hands lifted, the elbows pointing up, and just pull ourselves up as the arms go above the shoulders, and we just keep reaching, looking upward, and we'll take the hips out forward, and we'll come all the way over. So on the exhale, first the elbows bend, the hands drop, the eyes follow the hands down, and we just round over, hands heading right down above the knees. And we take the time again to work with the spine. Tailbone tucks. And we press back through the spine, pressing the spine between the shoulder blades, lifting the neck, tucking the chin. Now we're going to change our shape, but we'll stay with the hands where they are. So when we inhale, we straighten the arms, move the breastbone forward, lift up at the base of the skull. And the hips are subtle. We don't have the tailbone tucked, but we're not trying to stick it back. We want to keep the back of the waist open. So tailbone points down toward the mat behind us. So explore creating as much length as we can in the spine here. And we're going to round the spine last time when we breathe out. So now clearly tuck the tailbone in, send the waist back, the spine between the shoulder blades, the chin tucks, the neck lifts. And then from here, we will bring ourselves tall. And the inhale starts the arms lifting, elbows poking up, shoulders drawing up on the ribs, becoming tall. And when we're ready to, we'll just look out forward, lifting at the base of the skull. We'll stay with the arms comfortably apart and just gently press wide. And then keeping the arms about this distance apart, start to slowly move them forward. And then slowly bring them lower. And we just, as we get low, let's just soften them and just give them a chance to melt there. When they get down, we're going to turn the palms forward and backward, forward and backward. So this is a nice, if you've got a set of yoga blocks, this is a nice move to do with yoga blocks because they space the arms just about the perfect amount away from the sides of the body for the shoulder freedom of movement. Okay, and then just coming down, pausing. And if we're holding blocks, actually, we can just continue to hold them for a moment. And then when we're ready, we'll move on from there. So we'll just take the hands onto the waist. We'll take our twist. So the out breath takes the whole right side back. We're going to look behind. We'll release the right arm, point back behind. And when we breathe in, bring the arm vertical, turning forward. When we're ready to breathe out, this right hand touches the opposite shoulder and just slides down the opposite side. And just taking ourselves as low as is comfortable for our balance. When we're ready to come up, we breathe in and the hand comes up on the same side of the body, back onto the top of the hip. And just flowing, nice long breath, turning the other side, pointing back, and in breath, coming tall and forward. And out breath, down the side again. And let's give ourselves one or two more for each side of the body. Well, let's say our left side is going to be our last side. And whenever we do the left side and we're back up, just pausing here for a moment and just feel where the weight is in the feet and the length in the back body. And we can release those arms. We're going to swing our heels out, turn the feet out, swing the heels out again. And we're looking for a place where the feet are probably wider than the shoulders. The knees can bend. And we gently separate the knees so that we feel some work in the thigh muscle. We sink the tailbone. And then these inner thigh muscles, the adductors, you just tap them perhaps and see that you can feel, oh, they're engaged. Okay. And then hands on the hips again, and just taking the torso side to side a little. A little bit one side, then the other. And we're kind of working into moving the torso side to side, keeping the hips pretty steady. And then after left, stay in the center for a moment. Take the hands up higher. So we're really at the base of the ribs here. And again, moving side to side. Keeping our hips as still as we can. And then coming in the center, we're going to take the arms a little higher, but turn the hands into fists. And the fists gently against the ribs. Again, side to side. So we get to one side here, say I'm at the right. So the left fist creates a tiny bit more pressure, the right elbow going outward. And then when we're ready, we're back in center. So we're going to release the arms. They're going to sweep out, come up, elbows bend again, and now the fingers touch the shoulders. And we get a handful here. And then left is last. From left, we'll just pause in center again. And just adjust the legs, the hips, lengthen the back. And then we'll send the right elbow forward. And just rotating the left elbow. So to start, we'll keep the hips, the head faced forward. And then when it's the left elbow forward, let's pause there and undo the left arm. Let it go out long, the fingers point down, and then gently move it forward. Now on the backhand, undo the backhand and turn the fingers down as well. And then that back elbow gently pushes back a little bit more, and the front palm pushes forward a little more. And then smoothly, we're going to switch sides. So here the shoulders, the ribs move, and the spine not so much. Now, next time we have the left arm long out in front, just hold for a moment and then look back at that right elbow and gently lift it up. Lift it up a little bit so that it can go back a little further. And then we're going to bring the right forward and the eye can kind of come along with the hand and go out front. And then once the left is back, we'll look at that elbow. And again, follow forward and follow back. So now we're moving the neck and the upper spine along with the hands. And then stay in touch. We'll do this a couple more times. Stay in touch with the legs. So how do you use the inner thighs? Imagine you're gripping the sides of a horse. So just enough contact. So there's those inner thighs. Okay, now when the left is forward, from there, bring the right forward. Sink the tailbone, lengthen the back body. And then opening apart as we breathe in, floating up as we open apart. And we want to feel the shoulder blades going apart and the shoulders coming off the chest. So going outward, engaging the arms enough simply to open the joints. And then see if we can add just a little bit more rotation of the arm. A little bit more pressing out at the heel of the hand. And then we're going to release, so we're going to soften the arms and just float the arms down. Let's give the legs a break. Lift the heels up and then swing the heels in. Walk the feet in a little more. On a comfortable position here, just so the legs have something a bit different. And then we'll come in a bit closer again. I want to be close enough so that we can simply lift a knee. So when we lift the knee, if we do it a bit slower today, just to explore the foot leaving and the foot landing. So the ball of the foot, the toes, they leave last and they land first. And then when we do the right, let's swing it out. And just a gentle arc back to neutral. Same with the left. We'll get a couple more of those for each side. And then getting a left, that'll be our last. So once we've done the left, just pause for a moment and refresh the balance through the feet, the length through the core body. And then we'll bring up the right knee and just about hip height. So if you're going to lift the big toe here, just a little higher up, and then let the foot swing to the left and right. And then coming into center, let's take the knee down so the knees are side by side. And then again, the foot goes left and right, foot behind us. And then let's come neutral, bring the knee forward, put the foot back down. And balance the weight. And when we're ready, we're going to bring up our left knee about hip height, lift the big toe, and then swinging the foot one side, then the other. And then coming neutral, taking the knee down, and then taking the foot side to side. Okay, and in neutral, forward, back down, pausing there. And we're going to move our legs wide apart again. So just walking the feet out. Maybe a little wider than we have been up to now. And just experiencing hip sockets, knees, ankles, toes, making sure it's all comfortable and strong. We're going to take both hands, touching the right leg as we breathe out, just heading down the leg. As we go lower, let the head hang, let the neck relax, and finish out the breath. Whenever we need to inhale, we just use it to draw back tall. Hands on the belly when we're tall, and when we're ready to breathe out, simply sliding down the other leg. Gently, once more, each side. Now, when we go down the right leg again, let's add some work for the arms. Let's start with the left arm. When it's an in-breath, lifting up the left arm, gently reaching up, and adjust the placement of the head so our head feels like it's lined up with our spine. And just one more breath, reach for the ceiling. And when we breathe out, left arm comes down and allow the head to relax and hang, finishing that breath. Now on a fresh inhale, lift the right arm up, reaching up behind, turning the head so we look behind, so we look upward. And whenever we breathe out, bringing the right down, letting the neck release. And a fresh inhale, drawing the hands up the leg, coming to the center, pausing for a moment. We'll go down the left when it's an out breath, releasing down, releasing the head. And a fresh inhale, then a lift the right arm, point up. Internally, a little bit of lengthening out. Be sensitive to the head and neck being in a strong place. And when we breathe out, the hand comes down, the neck releases. Finish the breath. So we're going to take up the left arm when we breathe in. We look behind, we reach up, and don't lose the feet. Having that same sense of awareness of the feet. We're going to take the arm down, release the head and the neck. And our inhale draws us back up. I'm just pausing here for a moment. A little bit of an adjustment in the placement of our feet, the angle, the distance. And then let the right knee bend. And just bend it out a bit. Just all we want to do really here is make sure that the knee, as it bends, is in the same line as the center of the foot. We come back up. We do the same on the left. It's 1 or 2 times side to side, adjusting distances and angles. And then when we go to the right, this time bend the right knee, and then the left hand, just reach down to the knee or the ankle, the foot, the ground, whatever works. And then the inhale brings us up and rather than lean when we come up, stay tall. And then the other hand, other knee. So smoothly bringing ourselves all the way up and not going deeper than what feels comfortable for our balance, for our equilibrium. So one hand goes low. Let's give the other hand a job. So if I start with the hands on the hips, I'm going to bend my right knee. My right hand's going to run to my sacrum. My left hand goes as low as works. And when I get back up, both hands on the hips. So the hands slide in contact with the body as I go side to side. And let's get this 1 or 2 more times. So whenever we do a left side, we'll let that be our last. Okay, so we've done that. Let's walk our legs in close. So I'm working right now with my heels pretty much under my shoulder sockets, somewhere around there. We always adjust for what's good for us, but we're looking for that vertical stance. So I'm going to turn the feet in a little bit and bend the knees a little bit. And from here, I sink my tailbone. I lift up at the base of the skull. And Breathing in, bringing up the arms. And hands just above the shoulders. I'm going to push wide. And as I push wide, I'm going to sink the hips. And then I'm going to reach a bit right. I'm going to reach a bit left. And I just want to get a bit of movement again in the upper body. And then when I'm right, I'm going to pause there. I'm going to drop my right arm. I'm going to push up in my left hand. I want to get a feeling of pushing down and pushing up. And I'm just gently lifting the head so I can keep the neck long. And I want that push. And so an in-breath is neutral. I'm going to lean a bit left. Left arm down, right up. I want to feel both palms pushing. Back of the head lifting, tailbone tucking. And then in-breath to neutral. Out-breath. So I'm going to reach. Then I'm going to go down and up. And push. And in-breath to neutral. One more time to the left. Reach. Down and up. Push. And then in-breath to neutral. And then again, palms going out. So with the palms going wide, really release the shoulder blades. Let them go wide apart. You can feel that movement. And then bring the arms forward. And you can feel potentially the shoulder blades, they will slide forward along the ribs. And we can get the placement right as we push out at the heel of the hand. You'll feel the draw to the outer side of the shoulder blade. And then soften so the arms come in gently. And then again, just some gentle rotation here through the arms. And now we're going wide again through our legs. Now we're going to go side to side, but we'll do it a little differently. So to get that little difference, I'm going to start by turning my left leg out at the hip, and then the knee bends. And then when it comes up, I turn it in and turn the other one out. So how much the knee bends is just what it bends today. Initially, I'm keeping the torso to the side. So on the right side, I've turned the right leg out. I'm not initially turning to the right, I'm staying sideways. And when we go to the right, we'll pause there for just a couple of breaths. So when we stop, always adjust distances and angles. So there's strength down the legs and in the core. I want to sink the tailbone a little bit. And I'm going to float the arms out at shoulder height. And I am going to rotate the arms, pointing the fingers down, pushing out in the palms, lifting at the base of the skull. And press on the back foot as well as the front foot. So really feel down that left leg. Okay, and then let's come up. So as we inhale, reach up, straightening the legs, turn that right foot in, and whenever we breathe out, the arms come down. Okay, so for the other side, first turning at the hip, bending the knee, so we're staying sideways, fine tuning, so there's power into our feet, tucking the tailbone, lifting at the base of the skull, and then add the arms, rotate the arms, press out gently through the palms. And we know we've done this, I'll say correctly, we know we've got it safely when we can feel that the shoulders and shoulder blades are able to move. And we don't want them to feel pinned. We move them, I'll say, to their maximum, whatever that is in the moment, but they're able to freely move. And then to get out of here, in breath, straightening, lifting, And then the out breath simply brings the arms down. So this is keeping ourselves sideways. Let's turn out the right leg in the hip, bend the knee. Now we're going to turn towards the leg. So I'm going to take both hands, touch the thigh, and that brings my chest around. My left foot, I usually want to change the angle and maybe the distance. Sometimes bringing it in closer makes everything much happier. Put the hands on the thigh, bend the elbows, and stretch forward here. So I'm not trying to lift up. Initially, that's too much extension in the low back. Tuck the tailbone, reach up at the base of the skull, press down the back leg. And then when we're ready to breathe in, we're going to straighten the right, we're going to turn to the side, swing the right leg in, take the left leg out. So we bend, and to help ourselves turn to the side, both hands on the thigh, and then we're forward a little bit, and that lets us work with the spine, that tucking of the tailbone, reaching at the base of the skull. Connect down the back leg. We can probably feel a stretch through the back calf. And then coming up as we breathe in, straightening the front leg, turning to neutral. We'll do it one more time, but now we're going to put the arms to work as well. To get the position, right leg turns at the hip, knees bend. Both hands start on the thigh, turning the chest, the torso to the right. Connect to the back foot. Tuck the tailbone, reach through the base of the skull, and then release the arms. Initially, they're kind of by the hips, and then take the arms outward. When we get above the shoulders, work with rotating the arms. So arms rotated, palms pushing out, chin tucked. Take the gaze down, either for the chest or that front foot, and just push. And think of the arms, the shoulders, the hips, the back ankle, all in one line. Just feel it internally. This is a hard place. And just one more breath. On the inhale, lift tall, just take the arms up, letting them soften and turn neutral. So it's a good place to start to feel how the core gets hot. Okay, now for the other side, bend the knee. Both hands on the thigh. So we create the rotation to the left, connect to the back foot, tuck the tailbone, reaching out at the base of the skull. And then when we're strong in the legs, we release the arms. They start by the hips. They're going to go wide and lift. And as they get above the shoulders, we turn on the rotation and we press at the palm. We keep the chin tucked, the tailbone tucked. We're strong in both feet, pushing out through the palms. And then to leave, just soften the arms, float tall, straightening the leg, turning neutral, bringing the arms down. Okay, good. Let's bring those feet closer. And just find a comfortable stance. And to get a comfortable stance, whatever the width of the feet, we want to extend the spine. So there's that sinking in the hip and that lifting the ribs out of the hips just a little bit. And it's just enough to create space for the organs of the body. Okay. Now, swing just the heels inward. You might need to adjust. What I want to have is probably a fist distance between my heels. That kind of puts us in the right zone, but always adjusting so we're comfortable. I'm going to start with my hands on my low hips. I'm going to bend the right knee and my right side turns out. I'm going to come neutral, both legs straight, and then the left. Now, if it feels really awkward, then the feet might want to be a little closer. Once I've got this movement, so I turn to the right, I lean forward a little bit so that my shoulder here is on that same line as my foot, and that foot's on the same line as my knee. So shoulder line, knee line, foot line, they all match up. And the more you can align them, the more there's that natural extending out. Okay, so we can extend out so far, we'd like to get a little help from the arms. So on the left side here, my left hand runs down just above the knee. So the right elbow going behind, and then the inhale. And we can always pause here, go deep the first time. It's nice to just check in that we have balance when we come back up. So for the right, I'm going to bend the knee. So as I go further out, the hand comes down just above the knee. Okay. So we can go even deeper with the arm. So on the left, I bend the knee, hand runs down, and then I'm going to slide the hand when I get just above the knee onto the inside of the leg and run down the inside. The hand wrapped around that lower leg. I can grab at any point for support. I'm going to come gently as low as I can. And then I'm going to use an inhale. It's going to draw me up, hand sliding up the leg. So at any point, the hand can become a support. And when we're ready for the right side, the knee bends. There's that rotation lining up the shoulders, hand going down the leg. When we're ready to go below the knee, come inside. Have the hand ready to grip and be a support, just coming as low as we comfortably can. And an inhale draws us tall. So we get tall, we really have that instant where we make tall within the core. We make it tall. And once we've had that, then we're ready for the other side. So discovering for ourselves today's depth. And when we get that depth, let's say you're on the right side, you're going to look left. So looking towards the straight leg, and then the arm that's still up around the hip, we can just lift it up and then feel the weight in the feet. So you can balance the work into the feet. Now to leave, if you lifted that arm, put it back on the hip and look down at that low hand and then draw back up. And have that moment where we're tall. And really find the back of the head and the tailbone. And then when we're ready, it's the other side. So the hand goes down. Once we're just above the knee, we slip to the inside line, follow down with the eye, hands where it's useful. And then we turn the gaze to the other side. And then perhaps extending that other arm upward. And then the hand to leave. First, the upper arm comes on the hip. The gaze goes down at the lower arm. And we follow it back up. And once we're tall, we take that moment again to lengthen in the core. Really checking in. We're going to do this just once more each side. So flowing smoothly, the knee bends. As the knee bends, the torso naturally turns. And the hands move to their respective positions. And we take our gaze out to the side and potentially upward. And as we're ready, the in-breath returns us neutral. At neutral, we check for the extension. Moving at our own tempo. When we do bend the left leg, we rotate toward the left, the hand gliding down. And once we're down, we look to the side. And when we're ready to leave, looking down, coming up with a breath. Okay. Deep work within the hips. So from here, we're going to separate the heels. Open out the feet. And the heels, we're heading to the mat. We're going to go there with one more rotation through the core. So start maybe with the heels around shoulder width, but then we'll adjust for ourselves. I'm going to bend the knees, line of the knee in line with the foot. And so we get here, usually when we get here, there's not quite enough weight in the arms. So put more weight in the arms, straightening the arms, dropping the hips. And you know you're in the zone when the low back starts to feel free. We've taken weight out of the low back, placed it in the arms and shoulders. When we get to that point, we can now do a rotation, a twist. It's going to work our psoas. So I'm going to start by bending my right elbow outward, dropping my left shoulder toward the center line, looking to the right. Left palm, gently press the left thigh open, and then gently look further and further round to the right. Keep the tailbone sinking. See if you can lift lightly at the base of the skull. Use an inhale to the center. And we get in the inhalation back to center. Get that place again with the arms as straight as you can make them. Little tuck to the tailbone. A lift at the base of the skull. Left elbow bends. Right shoulder to the center. So the right palm keeps the right knee from just falling inward. I'm going to look to the left. And then I'm going to tuck the tailbone, reach gently through the base of the skull. And then the in-breath brings me neutral. Big job when we come to neutral is to sink the tailbone, reach at the base of the skull. We'll do this once more each side. Doesn't have to be as long. We can do a shorter move. What we want to try to do when we're in center, check the spine. When we're at the side, check the spine. When we're in center, after a left, we're done. And then let's work with our feet, maybe adjusting the distance so we can lower the hips. The hips get low. Sometimes we want the hands on the ground. And it's not just a way to recover, it's also very powerful. If we put the hands on the ground, we lift the heels and drop the hips. And this is also deep core work. So whether the hands are down and the heels are up, or we simply have the feet flat, both positions work the core deeply, just subtly different. And we just want to be able to pause for a moment in either of them. And then from there, we'll come all the way down. So if we're out in front, we simply put a hand behind, sink down. Whenever we get here, we're just going to lengthen the legs. We're just going to wave them inward, outward, shake down through the knees. Just a couple of moves to loosen things up. Okay. And then really easy, side to side. Really let the hips move here. And wag over one side, then the other. There's a number of different places where the feet can go. We adjust the feet so that the knee stays comfortable. So if it's okay, if the knees are okay, just try some subtle variations for the feet. Okay, we'll just slow it down. Let the knees drop left and then sit the weight up. So left knees on the ground, left leg's on the ground, right hip is going to be off the ground. We're not trying to get it down. And then right hand on the hip, and we'll just gently turn, looking behind us to the left. And then the inhale is going to turn us forward. And then release the legs to the other side. So now the left hip free of the mat. Let me just gently turn. In-breath brings us into the front. Let's pause here. Stretch out the legs. Give them another shake. Maybe wag the legs. Okay. So just grab forward. We just want to take a bit of a hold so that we can work with the core. And lint forward a little bit so I can find the tailbone. I want to tuck the tailbone, drop the tailbone, and then I'm moving back to create length through the spine. Think of the chest above the hips. And then when you breathe in, reach up. When you breathe out, turn right. Just touch the right fingertips behind, the left fingertips in front, just looking toward the right. In-breath, come back up. Out-breath, it's the other side. And just take one or two more. Okay, so after left, we'll face forward. And then just again, reach out. It's an easy hold. It's really of most use to us when we don't strain. So whatever the body touches today, gonna tuck the chin, reach up through the base of the skull. So you can work in the hips, draw the belly in and create a feeling of tucking the tailbone. Bit of energy in the thighs, lifting the kneecaps toward the hips. And then use the arms. We're gonna take the elbows apart and forward a bit and feel the shoulder blades being moved. And then just check all those points again internally. And just a comfortable long breath. Especially on the inhale, widening the diaphragm. Really experience that in-breath. Whenever we do exhale, just breathing out down into that low belly. And on the in-breath, just relax and run the hands up the legs. Okay. Let's bring the legs close. And again, just lightly bouncing the legs. So some energy in the legs so they can help to position the hips, tucking the tailbone, taking length. Inhale goes up. Exhale, turning right again. So now the right fingertips behind. Take the left hand just on the outside, just touching somewhere on the right leg. We don't want to lean too far forward. chest over hips. So the roof of the mouth over chest, over hips. Just gently looking behind. So as we look further behind, remembering to lift at the base of the skull. And we're going to come forward with an inhale, so release the arms. They just float out, and it's easy to turn forward. And we take our time getting some air here. Have the exhale start, and then the arms lower. The hands land. We create a bit more twist, keeping our vertical alignment, our vertical extension, knowing where our tailbone is, where the base of the skull is. And when we're ready, in-breath brings us forward, arms go out and up. And then on the out-breath, again, the exhale starts, and then push out gently through the palms, tuck the chin, reach out through the base of the skull, and the hands touch wherever they do. And then initially align the spine, the tailbone, the base of the skull, the thighs engage, the elbows separate. So allowing the back, the vertebra, just to be able to relax. We're not trying to round the back over. We're trying to create that subtle extension by dropping the tailbone, reaching at the base of the skull. So our definite internal image is length between the vertebra. So the sinking of the tailbone becomes important. The reaching at the base of the skull is important. So the thighs, they engage, the arms engage, and the spine gets gently stretched between those two places. And then we need a breath, and we're going to use it to come up. Whenever we're inhaling, soften the arms. Just let the body naturally rise up. And then from here, we're going to come onto our back. So taking the hands behind, bending the knees up, and just slide the hips forward and ease the weight down onto the spine. Letting the weight of our hips just sink into the mat. Resting the base of the skull on the ground. Keeping the back of the head long. And just be aware of breathing. As we breathe, we relax. And then at some point, we're exhaling. When we do that, bring the knees in. We're holding our knees where the back of the waist is able to feel comfortable, to sink toward the mat. And just gently making our inhale nice and long. So not only do we fill the lungs, we also get a gentle lifting in the belly. And on one of those inhales, filling up, and then holding the breath for a moment. And then when we need something, just take another little sip inhale, just a tiny bit of air to add to the inhale. And maybe doing that once or twice more. At some point, we truly do need to breathe out. When that happens, simply breathing out. We'll do this again. Getting that deep inhale. When we're really filled up, pausing. When the body needs something, just try a little sip of inhale. And then at some point, it is truly time to exhale. I'm not fighting that. Having a deep, gentle exhalation. And we'll do this one more time. And when it is time to breathe out, allowing the body to release. And then once we have exhaled, let's bring our knees closer together. We're going to lift our heels up so they're up a bit higher than our knees. We're going to cross the ankles and draw the knees in enough so the tailbone is off the mat. And the weight's really at the top of the hip and in the low back. Tucking the chin, sinking the base of the skull, and taking the eyes downward. And then release the right arm and reach up for the ceiling. We're going to bend the wrist, rotate the arm, push up at the heel of the palm. So the shoulder really is up off the ground. The thumbs outward, the fingers point at the feet. And then lower the left heel. Let it touch the ground. Feel the low back here. And then stretch out that left leg, taking it long and sinking the back of the waist into the mat. And lower that arm close to the ear and push out through the palm, push out through the heel. And see if you can keep the low back sinking downward. Making sure the chin is tucked. Let the belly sink in the core body. And then we're going to leave as we're breathing in. Take the left leg vertical, the right arm vertical, and then bend the knee. Put the hand onto the knee. And now for the other side, take the left arm vertical, rotate the arm, push up through the palm, the shoulders clearly up. And then take that arm down close to the ear and push out through the palm. And then take the right heel down. Now be aware of the low back. As we drag out that heel, extending the leg, keeping our low back sinking down. And push through hand and push through heel. And then when we're ready to leave, we're going to inhale up the leg and then bring the arm up. And they both push to the ceiling again. And then we bend the knee, we put the hand on the knee. We'll do the right again. So we'll take the right arm vertical, rotate the arm, push through the heel, and then bring the arm down just close to the ear, pushing out to the wall behind. And then the left heel touches, the leg goes long, press through the heel, through the palm, and lower the low back into the ground. Keep the chin tucked. And the eyes, they look for the belly. And then the in-breath brings that left leg up, the right arm up, pushing up. And then bend the knee, the hands on the knee. And then release the left arm. Take it vertical, rotate the arm, push for the ceiling. Bring the arm down close to the ear, push for the wall. And then take the right heel down and stretch out the leg. So press out through heel, through hand, and sink the back of the waist. And then the inhale brings the arm, the leg, they're vertical, they push at the ceiling. And then bend the knee. Put the hand on the knee. And then undo the hands, put a hand on its own knee. Ease the knees towards the armpits. And then slide the hands down the legs. So reaching down for the ankles or feet, finding an easy grip, and then opening the knees up a bit so the feet are toward the ceiling. So there's many variations here. We can sink the knees, or we can gently push out through the feet. We can softly go back and forth a couple of times. We might want to bring the legs in a bit closer toward each other with the knees a bit straighter and maybe rolling up the back. So exploring some of these options, always looking for ease in the movement, letting the body adapt to the effort, letting the body take advantage of the effort. Now, when we're ready to, we're going to return the feet down onto the mat. No rush to get there. And simply place the feet when we're able to release the hips. Letting the knees drop open. And then activate the left ankle so we can make contact through the outside of the left foot. And then pressing down through that outside edge of the foot, straightening the left leg and releasing it. And on the right, activate the ankle, the outside edge of the right foot, and scrape that foot down the mat, and then release the leg. And let the arms find a comfortable place to rest. And having the attention go to the breath. Taking our time when we breathe in. Breathing into the very tops of the lungs. And then a little more air to expand the low belly. And letting the in-breath naturally turn to out-breath. And then releasing any control over the breathing. Simply observe the flow of the breath. And let's move again in fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. And on an in-breath, reach out through the arms, stretch down through the legs. And on an out-breath, drawing in the legs, taking hold and shifting the weight side to side. And then shifting the weight all the way over, traveling onto either side, bringing ourselves up to sitting.